Wait. What's happening in the world? Israel is fighting alongside ISIS? Israel, America's greatest ally in the Middle East. Israel, which receives over $1 billion in U.S. foreign aid, is fighting alongside ISIS to get rid of Assad. I know that's a very incredible claim to make, but just look at the facts. Israel has bombed Syria for the 5th time in 18 months. The Times of Israel is reporting that Israel is giving arms to these Syrian rebels. Haaretz is talking about how there was a deal made with the Syrian rebels and the Israeli government to get rid of the Golan Heights area. And if Israel helps the rebels get rid of Assad, that the Golan Heights area would be all of Israel to keep. The CFR is talking about how Israel is giving medical treatment to Syrian rebels. There's a picture of President Netanyahu of Israel being in an Israeli hospital treating a Syrian Islamic terrorist, a Syrian rebel. And as you know, just from the previous videos we covered, Jordan, the region here right next to Syria, Jordan has a secret CIA training facility, and rebels are coming into Jordan, coming out of Jordan, and attacking Syria, going after Damascus from the south, fighting with fighters from al-Nusra. Now I know the Syrian rebels, the majority of them, not all of them, we have to make a distinction here, the majority of them who want to topple Assad and go into Damascus and take over all of Syria, the majority of them are Islamic fundamentalists, is al-Nusra, is al-Qaeda, is ISIS. So these people are getting arms and support and medical treatment and intelligence and bombing support from Israel. If you don't believe me, there's a second article here confirming the fact that when the Iraqi military was fighting ISIS, when the Iraqi military was able to have ISIS retreat, they were finding military cache depots of weapons that were made in Israel. Israeli weapons, missiles, comms, intelligence are being found in Iraq. When the Iraqi government is pushing back against ISIS, they're finding military depots with military-grade weapons, communications, and missiles. So even Iraq is being destabilized by Israel. We're getting all these separate reports, the Times of Israel's, Haaretz, the CFR, all these different international publications that you will not hear anywhere in the mainstream media of this insane action being committed. For the 5th time in 18 months, Israel bombed Syria. And of course, the area that they bombed was not an area controlled by al-Nusra, was not an area controlled by ISIS. It was right next to Damascus. It was right next to the Damascus airport, because Syria recently has been having a lot of victories. Assad and his forces have been very successful in the last couple of days pushing back against the Syrian rebels. And then Israel comes in and bombs Assad, who's fighting Islamic terrorists who want to get rid of and destroy anything Western and implement Sharia law all throughout the world. And Israel is supporting them and helping them. The only countries to actually say something about this is Iran and Russia and, of course, Syria, about this huge breach of international law. And of course, they're calling on the UN to do something, which I highly doubt they will, because they never could really do anything anyway. But the Russian foreign minister publicly demanded an explanation to why this is happening, and why is Israel openly supporting terrorists in the region that we're fighting, that we're seeing in the headlines here in the U.S. and the West about how horrible this news or this terrorist organization is. That's all we hear. All we hear is constant fear-mongering about how horrible ISIS is. But we're not hearing the facts of the CIA training facility in Jordan. We're not hearing about the facts of how Israel, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Qatar are all supporting these rebels, and how the U.S. was doing it openly a little bit over a year ago when we were saying we're supporting moderate rebels. Now, of course, a small faction of them are moderate. A small faction of the rebels in Syria do just want to overthrow Assad. But a bigger faction, al-Nusra, al-Qaeda, ISIS, want to get rid of any freedom and implement Sharia law, and to totally take control of the Middle East. Now, of course, we don't hear a lot about Israel in the West. There's a great article by investigative journalist, award-winning author, best-selling author, Nafis Ahmed. Nafis Ahmed used to work for the Guardian. The Guardian is a very, how do you say this? The Guardian has been talking about a lot of interesting stories that other media publications have not been covering, but when it comes to Israel, when Nafis Ahmed wrote a story about how Israel was going after Palestinian oil reserves, he was immediately fired. His contract was immediately canceled. This article here by Nafis Ahmed is very telling. His article, again, he's an award-winning best-selling author. He doesn't write conjecture. He doesn't write anything defamatory. He always uses facts. He always uses sources. He always has everything extremely tight. His contract was cut with the Guardian because he decided to write about Israel and geopolitical interests when it comes to oil in the Palestinian region. Now, of course, Nafis Ahmed wrote about ISIS and their control and their geopolitical plays with oil, and that article was fine. But the second he released an article about Israel, he got a phone call, and let me read you what he said. Said he was told that my blog was to be immediately disconnected, not because my article was incorrect, factually flawed, or outrageously defamatory, not because I'd be somehow breached journalistic ethics or violated my contract. No, the Gaza gas piece, he said, was not an environment story and therefore was an inappropriate post from the Guardian's environment website. Now, of course, Nafis Ahmed was told to write about geopolitical occurrences with energy, with the environment. He wrote similar articles about ISIS and their play with oil before, and that was fine. The article that he wrote got over 60,000 shares. It was one of his most popular articles, and then he was fired from the Guardian, which shows you just how much censorship, just how much fear there is when it comes to this topic of Israel. But of course, unlike any other media publication, we're not intimidated or afraid of any government, and we're here reporting to you news from around the world that is extremely important that you will not get anywhere else. Now, of course, Russia is a very key geopolitical ally with Syria. Militarily, they trade and work together very closely, and they're very closely have the same goals together. Russia's one of the only countries, along with Iran, to call out Israel for this violation of international law. And of course, as you know, the tensions between the U.S. and Israel are also rising. There was a House Resolution 758 passed by the House of Representatives here in the United States that pretty much paved the way for war with Russia, bulking up troops, arming European Eastern countries with military supplies, weapons, and tanks, calling for more sanctions, saying that if any country gets attacked by Russia, the U.S. will get involved. They passed this resolution a few days ago. And of course, just like this article says, mainstream media blackout as U.S. House of Representatives passes dark war on Russia. And we're seeing it implemented. This happened on December 6th. It is now December 12th. But in between this time, because of this House resolution and because of other things happening behind the scenes geopolitically, 100 U.S. tanks were sent to Eastern Europe and Lithuania. Poland has decided to start buying up U.S. missiles and defense programs, and it looks like geopolitically Iran, Syria, and Russia are facing off against the Western-backed powers. Everything's coming out, the weapons are being sent, the war is hot in some regions, it's cold in the Eastern Europe region, but that could change at any time. As this is developing, of course, I hope I was able to provide you information that you're not getting anywhere else. This issue is extremely complicated to break down for you, but I think it's also extremely important to talk about some of the moves being made geopolitically that you're not hearing about anywhere else. So if you found this video helpful, click the like button. We have been covering ISIS for a very long time. If you want to find out more, go to youtube.com/WeAreChange. Click the search button, just type in ISIS. You will find a lot of videos breaking down everything from the very beginning to end about what you're not being told about this Western-funded Islamic terrorist organization. Again, if you found this video helpful, click the like button. Thank you again so much for watching.